Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Chaps Chat Cats, part of the Hoops Crew Media Network. My name is Jake, and I'm joined at gunpoint by Sambo and Johnny. How are we, chaps?
Could be better. No, good.
Woo!
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got
launching
a new
into
chair.
a hot energy start.
I've got a new chair that I'm sitting at for my podcast studio, and it doesn't go up as high as my
Okay.
old chair. And I will admit, I feel like a useless, dumb boy.
A naughty
Just how I feel.
boy on his
Just how I feel.
slightly
Just
smaller
like-
chair.
Yeah, just like, has he got anything to add? Nah, useless.
No.
Mute him.
Do you want to unpack this further on the show? Do you think?
Please.
Oh, yeah, look, it goes back
Do we need to go
to when I was about 8.
Need some milk.
All right, let's crack into it. Let's crack into the show tonight and what it is. It's an absolute barn burner, chaps. You're not going to get 3 people more excited to talk about this round 9 game than these 3 motherfuckers here. The Cats.
I'm excited.
Me too. Any chance to talk?
But I am a dumb, useless little boy on a tiny chair. So don't listen to me and my naive positivity. I know nothing really.
Just quick side note,
Yes.
Mej, just so you're aware, sorry
Yes.
to derail, I'll just let you know you put your votes in Sam's column.
No, I don't. I did.
Fantastic.
The same.
Really? Oh
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
Controversial
Bec-
start to the podcast here.
Yeah, no, they're
Controversial.
just the same because I did my votes without reading the notes, and then when I went and read the show notes, I went, oh,
because I've only
Jake's
got
got the
your
exact-
votes in there. Jake, maybe Jake hasn't put his in there yet. Maybe that's it.
yes, that will be what happens.
That'll be it.
Okay. Well, the good thing is,
I spending any time on it because
Um,
in the meantime, every 3 months,
Exactly.
a person is torn to pieces by a crocodile in North Queensland.
on the show tonight, the Cats fall to the Giants in round 9. We're going to do the news wrap for Patreon subscribers. This is how it works. If you haven't cottoned on by now, maybe you too are a small boy sitting on a small chair. Who needs to maybe bloody wisen up. The way it works, the public part of the show, we recap the game. We then go to Patreon, finish out our thoughts on the game. We do the news, then we do a round 10 preview. If you're not with us by now, get your fucking head in the game. We've only been doing this for like 4 years. 5th year happening this year. Come on, get on board. So that's what's on the show tonight. If you want the Patreon parts, if you want your extra girth, if you want to take your girthy medicine, then go on over and sign up for a 7-day free trial on the Hoops Crew for free $3.99 on that 7-day free trial. Check out what it's all about. We'd love to see you over there. Not just bonus content from our stuff, but VFL coverage and extra stuff from Ben and Paul. That's where you got to go. The Hoops Crew Patreon. Well, before we get into the preview, chaps, of course, if these people have their head in the game, they know what we've got to do. We've got to say a big thank you. The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist. Visit them at shop 1211 Leather Street in Breakwater. Phone them on 035 222 2244 or visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au and use the offer code GOCATS in the voucher field at checkout to get 20% off your next online purchase. Let's dive in. Let's dive into the game. We'll start, of course, with my recap. They say we're young and we don't No, we won't find out until we're grown. Well, I don't know if all that's true, because you got me, and baby, I got you, babe. Sonny and Cher's lilting voices chime through the radio. Again? Surely not. Again? 5 goals on the board for the team in orange and charcoal inside the game's opening 20 minutes. O'Halloran, Stringer, Green, Stringer, Hogan, alarm bells, shrieking bomb sirens, shades of extreme annoyance creeping into the edges of a previously delightful autumnal weekend for me. Seize them, zip tie their hands, sink steel-toed kicks into their ribs, screws of pressure turned by high-intensity defensive application from Manor and Stengel. The game returned to balance by goals from the boots of Dangerfield, Manor, Duncan. He's still there. Cameron and Neil. Pleasant hues of pink, gooey goodness ease the tension that the first term brought as Sunday joy appears to be on its way. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Sonny and Cher's lilting voices chime through the radio. So do back-to-back goals to Cadman and Ward. Kick them down the stairs. Pounce and gaffer tape their mouths. Blindfolds applied. Goals to Cameron, Henry and Myers nose the Cats back in front at the half. Good. Half time. Time to reset. Peel them off the floor. Bundle them roughly into the boot of the car at the break. Drive them to the edge of the shore. Concrete boots. Sayonara. Peace restored. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Sonny and Cher's lilting voices chime through the radio. So do back-to-back goals to Cadman and Ward. 4 of the game's 6 third-quarter goals. Hogan, Green, Thomas, Hogan. Geelong gain responses from a mercurial Dempsey and a buzzing Stengel. Only 7 points at the final change of ends. Veins in my temple pulse at magnitudes not previously felt this season. Deep breaths. Mindfulness practice. Go to the center of the rage. Find the eye of the storm. Breathe deep. Find your center. It's only football. A goal to Manor, darting the Sharon low and diagonal, erupts a typically weird Cardinia Park crowd. Grab a wrench, a vase, whack heads, drag them to the woodshed, lock the door, throw the key away, secure the win. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Sonny and Cher's lilting voices chime through the radio again. What the fuck? Reality distorts. Time is a flat circle. Hogan splits the big sticks twice, but we find a response. Dempsey and Stengel cancel out the big man strikes. The game surely now can be put to bed. Evict these earworm house guests who do nothing but frustrate Sunday afternoons, spoil Saturday evenings, eradicate warm feelings in joyful Geelong houses. Neil has a chance and a miss. Stengel has a chance and a miss. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Sweet Jesus. Jake Riccardi goals with singular minutes left on the bleeding clock face. The melting pot bubbles. Into the thick of it, we are thrust. Waves of pressure. Possession lost but regained. A ball clutched out of the chill evening. A mark to danger. No to Blixarves. Oh, Blixarves. A shot straight in front. Slot this one. It's all a silly dream. Just a dream. All we need's a goal. Just a goal. I plead for a goal and a miss. A siren. An alarm clock. I got you, babe. Sonny and Cher's lilting voices chime through the radio. A nightmare echo in my fucking brain. Once again, we live in the world of the Greater Western Sydney Groundhogs. Next time, we might have to get in the car and go off the cliff together. Giants 16-9-105. Geelong 14-17-101. Sambo, coming to you first for your opening statements on the game.
Congrats again on a ripping intro there, Jake. Couldn't have. I could never predict where we're going, and it took me a little longer than it should have to realize what the Sonny and Cher reference was. It was probably maybe by the second time you started singing, I figured it out.
This is the seventh time.
I would also like to think that when you said Blixarves, I feel like that was actually Blixarves. That was actually what he was saying. I feel when he got it was like a old Gil moment from the city. He's like, oh, Blixarves. Like you when he got the ball given back to him, and it wasn't Blixarves. And that's you never he was be in that position. Anyway, I said we're going to keep these opening salvos brief because I wouldn't like to try and match the tangents we get out of JB every week. Honestly, I'm you and I have hashed it out a little bit already, Jake. This isn't overs for me, boys. I've got to admit that, yeah, pass, fail, exceed expectations. This is still easily a pass. This game was a pass for me. We spoke about it last week. Where we said, what do we think for the month? And I said 2-2. And I was honest, in a pod that's usually, all three of us usually so blindly one-eyed, I did allow a little bit of doubt. And this was in the Patreon section. So a lot of people may not have heard this, but I said, these guys play well here. Obviously, they're on a run against us here. They're coming off some losses. It's 3:20 on a Sunday, Arvo. It just felt right for an orange ambush that we would be sleep.
Tsunami.
And then we had the down, the outs, knowing the outs. So I guess I take a little bit of solace in feeling like, well, at least I felt like this is where. But on the that start, their hot start, I felt like that could have been worse. The way I saw this game playing out was them getting up 8 or 10 goals, and then the Cats putting in this valiant second half effort and falling short by a few goals. And you go, if we had not let him get out so far early, we might actually be able to come back. But I really felt like this was going to be an awful opening term or two before we. And so the fact that we got back and honestly we put the game on our boot, like we could have won that so easily. And that's not to say the game was easy, but we were in a position at the end to win it by 3 goals if we had have kicked straight 3 times. So yeah, I understand. Your feelings as you've already laid them out to me, Jake, and I've seen a lot in the Discord and on social media, but honestly, I enjoyed the absolute heck out of this game. I laughed when Blixarves hit the post. That just seemed so comical to me when he got given the ball and he had to line up, and then of all things, he hits the post. Like, yeah, I was immensely proud of this team to do what they did in this environment. So yeah, I'm pretty buoyant, to be honest. What about you, John?
I was.
I get the sense
not
you're
angry.
not buoyant, perhaps.
I think the way I put it, I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed that yet again we've lost to this team. That's the one thing I'm really just more pissed off about. Is it's feels like it's been the same result for the last 5 games at our home against this team. Is one of their players gets some lucky snap in the last few seconds that goes through a goal, and then that's wins them the game. And it feels like that's been happening the last 5 times at home. So that's what I'm most just annoyed at, is that we just weren't able to beat them when we most likely should have, if we'd just been that little bit more accurate. But that's football. You're not going to win them all. Sometimes you just have one of those games where you can't kick a goal at all. But yeah, as you said, if you look back on the whole game as a whole and you take out the result, you go, this is actually a really impressive game with the players that were missing, especially in the back line. The young players in this side really stood up. Yeah, there was moments that each player will probably look back and go, I could have done that better. But at the end of the day, it's to lose by that much after they dominated that first quarter for so long is still a really impressive game. Like they're doing really well. And as I said to Jake, like, yes, we're missing all these highly skilled, experienced players, but all these young guys are getting these experiences of playing these games where you're down at a certain point and you fight your way back, and it's high pressure from the opposition, and you've got to find a way to fight through and get back into this game, and they've been able to do it yet again. So this is just, it's a downer that we lost, but also you go, well, these young guys are getting this amazing experience that they may not have otherwise gotten. So yeah, there's plenty of upside. Bitterly disappointed, but only because, again, it was the Giants that we lost to. which is just like, it's just like, chance, why can't we beat this team at home? But apart from that, yeah, it was a good game. It's just a shame we weren't able to get over that line. And we had opportunities, had plenty of opportunities. Just wasn't. It just whatever reason, it just wasn't meant to be.
I think I was like as angry as I've been, but it wasn't like I do want to dive into the specifics of the game, and I know you two chaps, you've always got good thoughts on it, but like it was surprising to me how annoyed I was. Like I really do these days put results, win or lose, like in the emotional storage unit within like 10 minutes of the final siren. Like I'll let myself bask in the wins for as long as I feel like it. But the losses, it's like the siren goes and I'm back to normal life. But I knew from the first bloody quarter that I was just in a Captain Grumpy mood, and anyone in the Hoops Crew Discord would have known that, because I was pretty busy, and it was a mess of my own making. I stayed up very late watching replays of Gippsland Footy League local games, and I'd had a perfect weekend, and I just knew from quarter one I'm going to be really annoyed throughout this game, and I am not as in control. I put out an angry tweet after the game, basically like 31 scoring
I'm
shots,
sure
should have wiped the
everyone-
floor with them. I think I said it was outrageously fucking wasteful, and I'm glad I'm not podcasting tonight. And I just want to share, I then went and watched Bruce Almighty with my family, and what a great movie that was, to remind me of like like I was sitting there being ungrateful, and I've got a stat for you, and something that it puts a little bit of shine on the Giants, but I think it also highlights why I felt like such a moron when I reflected afterwards about like how I felt in the game and then afterwards. That from 2007 to now, when I went back and counted this, so I might be a game or two out, but from 2007 to now, Geelong has played 145 games at Kardinia Park. And of those 145 games, Geelong has won 122 times. That's 84% of their games at home for nearly 2 decades that the Cats have won. And there's only 9 teams not named Geelong in the league who have won at least one game at KP since 2007. And they are GWS, Sydney, Freo, the Dogs, the Kangaroos, Port, Carlton, Essendon, and Melbourne. Of those victories that other teams have had, GWS have, I think it's 23% of wins at Kardinia Park by teams not named Geelong. No, and they've only been around since 2012 or whatever it was. These other teams have had an extra, 5 or 6 years to get the job done. Sydney and Freo are the next closest with 4 each. Then you got the Dogs with 2, North with 2, Port with 2, Carlton, Essendon, and the Demons with 1 each. So GWS 5 wins. At a place where other teams have only won, I think 22 or 23 times in the last 16 years. Longer, 18 years. We're coming up more on 20 years. It's ridiculous. And I guess I wanted to own up to my feelings on it, just going, that was such a good reminder that you've got to really tend the garden of your gratefulness, because I was really ungrateful. I didn't appreciate what was a classic match, what was a brilliant effort from the Cats. I sat there being very pissed off for 4 quarters. And in hindsight, having chatted with you, Sam, and just done my own reflection, like, what an effort, like missing the players we were missing. And like, I think the Jesse Hogan one's a real obvious point, like that I felt we really missed a few key players. But yeah, no, I in hindsight, I see it much more like you do, Sam. But fuck, at the time, I really didn't. At the time, I was really pissed off, and it took me a while to sort of get back on top of my feelings about it. But
got in your fifis.
Obviously, any thoughts you guys want to? Yeah, I got big in my fifis. Like you talked about the cold start from us, but we wrestled it back. Was that just a matter of like getting pressure back in the game? Like there's a moment for me that stands out where Tyson Stengel, he just put a pressure effort on someone as they tried to kick. It was a turnover in the middle of the ground. I think we scored a goal, or we created a chance off it. Was that really the main thing that we lacked in those opening sort of 20 minutes that we eventually found and got the game back on an even keel? To you, chaps?
Easily, yeah. You could just tell they were using that ball very cleanly, easily with their hands, and they were just running away from our players, really. Like, they're able to just do those semicircles and outpace our guys, and it just weren't putting on that pressure. I did think, the Giants are really just getting out of trouble easily, a bit too easily. Unlike Cats, not to put on that pressure. But also just reminding myself, we're not the best first quarter team. Like, I think we're in the middle of the ladder for like first quarters. As always remind myself of that, like, yeah, we've got time to get back into this. In the back end of the games, we're always better. And we saw that happen. And that pressure, he said, got better and better. We're able to pressure them more, got our structure right. And as Chris Scott said, he made some wrong calls. And I think that's going to happen when you've got a team that's got some pretty key outs, especially with no ruck. Tom Stewart's not there. Jack Henry's not there. Walston Humphrey isn't there, which I think is a bigger loss than what I was expecting myself. I think not having him in that back line as the half-back linking player really affected us big time, I thought. And obviously no Colin Jasny, so yeah, we made some positional errors, but I'd rather make those errors and find out they're wrong rather than not make them and go, we could have tried that, but we were afraid. I was like, rather make them, have those errors made, and then we can go, well, that didn't work. We don't need to worry about that. Let's fix it up later on. But yeah, that pressure was the main issue, and just a few skill errors like dropping easy marks, not really over kicking. It was more just a dropping of marks, which was really the one that hurt us. That allowed them to pressure us. But yeah, overall, the pressure wasn't there in the first half of the quarter, and then we were able to get into it, and that's when we started getting back into that game.
Yeah, I think for mine, I think probably the positional stuff is the real key one. The not having Smith in the centre bounce to start, I think is, and this is just more further like probably stroking my own ego, saying yes, I said that he should be in there more. But yeah, he started on the wing. He started on the wing. Jeremy Cameron started in the middle. I would say Cameron started in the middle probably just to try and throw a curveball at the Giants because they probably had thought ahead about what to do with Cameron. And I think it just didn't work. Like you said, John, I'd rather them try this stuff and then try it. And if it doesn't work, change it pretty quickly. I don't like them to try it and then be bullish about it and go, no, this is what we're doing and just continue doing a bad thing. So I think you're right. I'd rather try it and have it not work and then rectify it. And I think they did rectify it. And I would hazard a guess that maybe it's a bit of a snake eating its own tail kind of thing. Hard to know which comes first. I feel the pressure be lifted because of that shift, getting Smith back in there. I mean, he laid the most tackles and was second on the ground for pressure acts, I think, or at least second on the team. So I think he brought a lot of that with it, and that's why it lifted. And our pressure rating, I know the pressure rating is a bit of a wank, but it went to something like 250 from like 170 or something at one point there, and like I think that was in the late in the first quarter or into the second. It was a huge shift. So I think you're right. The pressure was a massive one, but yeah, I do think I like that Scotty owned up to some of those specific positional things. He said there was more than those ones, but those obvious ones that he said just didn't quite work.
Yeah, no, I thought it was. I found myself like falling into like some cliche Twitterisms of like, why have we got one of the game's best premium forwards playing at the centre bounce? As I watched Jeremy Cameron like trying to chase and lay tackles. But I do wonder sometimes with that sort of stuff, like, is it partly to do with like, creating it's not about that matchup they're creating there. It's about what they can do off of that. If we put Jeremy Cameron to start here, what does that then free us up to do once we move him? I am interested to know, but I do feel like eventually GWS got on top of Cameron. There was a period in the game I thought where he looked like he might even help change the match. But then I think it was mainly across second and third quarter from memory. But then of course I felt like as the game wore on, they did get on top of him. The outs, chaps, like the commentary team, I think, were sort of blissfully ignorant to the whole thing, to the situation. But this was a week where I thought the absence of key defensive tools like Jack Henry, Jake Kolodjasny, your marauding interceptor, Tom Stewart. Like, I know, I thought this was a week where it really stood out. And I don't know how someone in the commentary box, and if they did do it, my apologies, I didn't hear it, but I did watch the full game. How did someone at some point just not go, oh, you've got to admire the effort of Connor O'Sullivan here, but, the absence of defenders like Kolodjasny, like Jack Henry, really hurting the Cats today against an experienced tall like Jesse Hogan. Like, there was a lot of talk about the players the Giants missed, but it's like Geelong. I think it's the rod we've made for our own back. I think I said to you, Johnny, that like we win so often regardless of who's missing. Like last week against Collingwood's a great example, a massive injury list, and we still get the job done in a shootout at the G. It's like they just stop caring who's out there. It's like if they're in a hooped Guernsey, then they're good enough to be out there and they're good enough to get the job done. But it was mystifying to me, and I thought that did hurt us.
Yeah,
those absences specifically
definitely hurt us. I think Connor O'Sullivan did an absolutely incredible job, and he's only going to get better from this experience and learn from just how he played on Jesse Hogan and all that, who's a very highly skilled player, highly experienced. So yeah, that definitely hurt just not having that Jack Henry there to go play him this way, or Tom Stewart, just to reassure him that you're doing the right thing, but maybe change this thing around. So part of me goes, yeah, it's really annoying that they don't mention the Cats outs as often as they mention other teams' outs. But another part of me goes, well, we're just a really well-drilled, well-oiled team that no matter who's in there, they're in there for a reason. They're good enough to be in this side. They're good enough to play the role and perform at a very high standard. And it makes it look like those players that are missing are not really missing as much as it would for another team. But so that's also like, yeah, other teams need their best players more than what we do, because we've got these young guys that can come in straight away and make a really good impact, make a really good performance,
and the best coach in the league.
Spot. And the best coach in the league, best development in the league, best recruitment people in the league. So part of me goes, yeah, it's absolutely frustrating, but also I go, well, it's also pretty awesome that we've got these other players that just can come in and fill in a spot really well. Obviously, they're not going to do a Tom Stewart or Jack Henry or Jake Kolodjasny job, but they're going to do a job that is at a really good base that they can build off from. Obviously, we've got some players that aren't as good as other players, but I still think like it's a bit of a blessing that we don't get mentioned so much of these players are missing, even though they're hugely important. It's like we are that good. We've got those players that are good enough, or better than good enough.
Yeah, I think I said to you, Jake.
Anything to add there?
That like, I'm in awe at our youth and our depth. I think our depth is actually incredibly underrated at the moment. But even then, we've just got so many outs in the same area that even with, as you've laid out, Johnny, even with all these players, they're just incredibly. Because if you complain about the depth, if you complain about the outs, people go, "Oh, you've got to have the depth. You've got to be able to replace players." And that's true. I agree with that. And we can, but it just happens to be that we're like, even with the depth and the talent that we've got, it's stretching us so far because it's all been in that particular area. It's pretty much all the back line. And that has hindered other areas because it's bringing other players out. Like Stanley going out has also affected the back line because Blix had to go and do the rucking. So you can't even like drop Blix, who's probably the obvious one to drop back in there. So yeah, it's significant, the outs, that's for sure. And kind of, I don't even all of them. I was pretty happy with how we were ticking, even just with Humphreys in there. That him going out, you're like, okay, he was our like Lord and Savior to cover Tom Stewart and Jack Henry being out, because he's the same player, but because of what he brings and how having him in the team allows other players, they can fill a bit of that void left by Tom Stewart and Jack Henry as well. Like I said, Blixarves, etc. So yeah, it's kind of like just one of them back. I would take one of them back. Maybe wins us that game. Not to sound too pissy and like, oh, you. And I think Hogan, everyone's talking about how good Hogan is, and kind of it makes it look like O'Sullivan got like absolutely towed up. And like you said, John, his effort was so good. He made maybe a couple of errors there that someone else wouldn't have made. But I don't think, like, and this is just to sort of color my opinion of, with one of those players backing, we might not have lost. I don't mean they keep Hogan to 0. Hogan probably kicks 5 on Tom Stewart or Jack Henry or whoever. Like he's great and he was on fire. But in a game that's won by 4 points, like 2 less goals is huge. 2 less goals makes a massive difference. So it's not that I think Hogan just absolutely destroyed O'Sullivan. It's just like he's just so much more experienced. He's so good and also so much more experienced. And O'Sullivan's like literally a baby in AFL terms.
It's like a 100+ game player playing against a 10 game player, which it was.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
it's like sort of that. Is it really going? We really need to praise Hogan for what he did because he beat this player that's only played 10 games. Like, yeah, you can praise him all you want, but he's still playing on this hugely inexperienced player. But in a couple of years, I can see Connor O'Sullivan absolutely dominating the next big forward and not letting him kick 7 goals. They would only kick 4 goals.
I think there's no doubt. Like Connor O'Sullivan's 19, Jesse Hogan's 30. I don't know, if you look at country footy and you pluck a 19-year-old against a fully grown person, that's not it's tough one because you don't want to sort of belittle or coddle players. But I mean, there's a genetic component to this. You can only grow so much in such an amount of time. You only have so much strength by a certain age. But having said that, Jesse Hogan kicked 77 goals, 26 last year. I don't think maybe we make enough of that. And maybe that might be a factor of living in Victoria and there being such a Vic media bias around this stuff. But 77 goals, 26. And he's currently kicked 25. Well, actually, he may have kicked more than that. I'm just trying to do the math here on whether AFL Tables has updated. It has. He's kicked 25 goals, 5 through 6 games. So
and
he's averaging.
He missed 2 or 3
4
games.
goals a game.
Yeah. Since he's gone to the Giants, he's just turned into one of the best, best forward in the game, I reckon. So I still, when you compare probably the best forward in the game to a 10-game player, I think Connor O'Sullivan can go, I did my absolute best. Yes, he kicked 7 goals, but I can still look back on this game and go, I think I did a pretty good job of doing my best effort against this hugely experienced, hugely talented player. And some of those goals Jesse Hogan got, he just was able to either get away from Connor O'Sullivan and be by himself because Collins played 7 games. He doesn't have that ability to read the really good plays yet of going, oh, he's going to move this way. I need to move this way, or he's going to fade this way, so I need to be prepared for that. And he's, as said, Jake, the strength and the fully developed body of Jesse Hogan against Connor O'Sullivan, who's still developing his body. You could really see that as well. He was just able to use his muscle out against O'Sullivan. So, yeah, it's a bit annoying that he kicked 7 goals, but I think, we didn't have much other choice because there was other players there.
Yeah, and yes.
Who's going to talk? We all pause. And let everyone else
You go.
go.
You go.
I guess I've got a couple of nitty-gritty questions to raise about this while we're on the subject of the backline. And I guess it's the time to get into it. We should, because I think we'll talk about what went right and who played well as we get closer to votes, and then probably into the Patreon as well. So while we try and unpack what went wrong, I've got a few. I don't want to ramble though, so I'm gonna pose these ones more as questions and talk about the outs. What is our starting, if everyone's healthy, what is our starting back line to you guys right now? Back six.
Back six will be
Jai Clark.
If you can do the three full, and it's hard because I've brought up our lineup from the night and compare that, and they've friggin' Mark Blixarves listed as the fullback. So that as far as I know, that never happened for the whole game. Maybe the first bounce, but so that doesn't exactly help.
So, I would have Tom Stewart, Zach Guthrie, Connor O'Sullivan, Lawson Humphreys, Jack Henry, and probably either Jake Kolodjasny or Mark Blixer, one of those two.
Did you mention DeConing?
I didn't mention DeConing yet, but
so DeConing to you is not in, or he's a ruck, or you're going to list him as a follower like they did, which I also don't know if that's what.
It's a tough one because it's a real tough one because I think DeConing is a very good defender. It's a tough one trying to get him all in. I would have DeConing in there, but I also want to have Kolodjasny in there. And Mark Blixav's in there, and Eugene Mullen in there. I'm gonna have to think a bit more.
Yeah, for me, I'd probably put Blix in the followers category. I think
that's
full strength, healthy side. I think regardless of what he actually does, I feel like we always have him listed as a follower normally. But I just thought it was interesting because I do think we've got some players playing out of their skins. And even the ones that have been effective, like Lawson Humphreys is probably is a starter now. I would have to assume, not just from our point of view, but from most people's point of view, in and outside the club. So to me, I was kind of going, it's Guthrie, it's Humphreys, Stewart, and then do you go? And then to me, it's probably a DeConing for me. I've probably got DeConing in the back. And then probably, for me, it's probably Mullen or Buse. And then it's O'Connor or Kohler, depending on what you're looking for.
Sullivan.
I think Sullivan's fantastic. Awesome. But I still think he's so young that, I don't know. I just feel like he's playing out of his skin ahead of himself, and too many nights like that could crush his soul a little bit. I don't think he did anything wrong, but honestly, this is a full strength side that we're talking about here, and what I would rather have him do is probably not be put on in a situation where he has to be on the best full forward, not only in the team, in the league, but just whoever you're playing. I think that's what's unfortunate for him at the moment, is that he's a starter and he's starting on the best. And I would probably, this is further, and I want to hear from you, your side of that, Jake, too. But I was looking at it on the night, kind of going, I'm not overly impressed with what De Koning's doing. A lot of people did like, and statistically, it looks all right. I don't know. I may have rather De Koning being on Hogan. I feel like maybe he would have impacted the game better as a one-on-one, bigger boy, stronger, and like we have seen him in the past towel up, but it almost looked like, and I mean he's listed as a follower. It almost looked to me like they had De Koning playing the Tom Stewart role, like not necessarily on a man. And I know the Cats generally play more of a zone thing anyway, but it looked a bit like De Koning was meant to be filling in the hole, filling in the gap, and he just looked lost at sea. And he was pushing up the way Stewart does, and he looked pretty good when he pushed up. I thought he was a good distributor and interceptor, sort of closer to the middle of the ground. But down back, I was almost going. I feel like O'Sullivan should be on a different man. De Koning should maybe be trying to help put his body on Hogan, and Zasri should be filling in the hole. Zasri should be mini Tom Stewart. Yep. I don't know if I'm overly simplifying how we structure up normally, but that to me was how I would do it. Over to you, Jake, because I've talked enough.
No, that's all right. I've got so many tabs open. I've got so many questions that are sort of. I'm just trying to find. This is what I was after. I wanted to go back to 2022, and have a look at Sam De Koning contested defensive one-on-ones. So he faced 69, contested defensive one-on-ones, and he lost 17 of them. So what's that? 24.6% loss. 24.6% of his contested defensive one-on-ones he lost in 2022. That's in his premiership year. He had 118 spoils, which was the most on the team by 45. He was 45 clear of the next closest Cat, who had 73. So there you go. There's that. Let's fast forward. All right. See, it's bizarre to me. See, like Sam De Koning statistically has faced 15 contested defensive one-on-ones this season. He hasn't lost one of them, according to AFL stats. He's had 36 spoils. I'm in the same boat as you, Sambo. I was like confounded at times. Like he's become one of the most, and I don't mean this in like frustrating as in like, oh, he's shit. He's become one of those players that's frustrating for me to watch because I know how good he is. I know how good he can be. We've seen his best stuff. We saw it on Sunday afternoon. And then there's times where it's just like you've been in the league X amount of years. How did you just get so spun around and totally lose your direct opponent? Why are you sort of giving up on the chase here? Like, I would prefer players to play with that Tom Stewart edge where you're going to be right up someone's backside to the moment they take the mark, and maybe you give away 50 for crunching them as they take the mark. You know, that fraction too late. I don't give a shit. Like follow your player. There's a lot of moments, and we've said it on the pod, and I know we're not the only ones who have seen it, where there's this body language thing of like, it's not even once the contest lost. It's like the contest is about to be lost, and you just see the shoulders slump on the replay, and the head goes back, and talk about a small boy sitting on a small chair and feeling a little bit like, oh, like that's kind of the vibe I sometimes get from SDK. As far as, and as I said, like I think he's so talented. I guess the makeup. I think this is it's a good question you ask, Sambo, about like who's actually in the back line. I think it's a good question to ask who's in the team if everyone's healthy, like broadly, because I don't want to get sucked into that bullshit either of where we go, oh, there's 14 players on the unavailable list, on the injury list. Like, oh, imagine if we had all them. The reality is half of them aren't going to be in the team. We're probably talking about somewhere between 4 to 6 or 7 players, 4 to 6 players who would Tom Stewart is an automatic in. Jack Henry is an automatic in. For me, if I had been able to pick one player off the list to put them in healthy, it probably would have been Jack Henry. Because I think he is so underrated, even amongst Cats fans the last few seasons. I think he's consistently our best defender in games, particularly even the last few years where Stewart's had his ups and downs. I think Henry's so consistent, and I'll throw to you, Johnny. But I just wanted to say the players I think that would be automatically in the team if everyone's healthy. I think Stewart, I think Jack Henry, I think Cam Guthrie would be in the team because I don't think Jai Clark is getting a game, or Ted Closey if Cam Guthrie's in the team. Lawson Humphreys would be in the team. And Toby Conway would probably be in the team as the ruck. And then you can have a bit of a debate about the talls. I don't think Jake Kolodjasny is an auto in if we're talking about Kolodjasny over Connor O'Sullivan. I think there's if you've got Henry and Stewart, there's some value in playing Connor O'Sullivan this season because he's been fantastic at times. But yeah, they're the players. Like, well, let's not get sucked into Jacob Mollier or Killian Burke or Lennox Hoffman, even Jack Martin, even Mitch Nevitt, like Mitch Edwards. These guys on the injury list aren't the ones we're talking about. It's like there's 5 or 6 names that if they're healthy, 98% sure they're in the team.
Yeah, definitely. I was just going to say about Jack Henry, he was probably our best player in that first 4 games of this season. Easily one of our best players. So having him out for this long is hurting us massively. And yeah, I think when he does come back, I think so many fans and so many people in the AFL media hopefully will recognise what a massive, massive out he is. Nearly as big, I would say just as big as Tom Stewart. Like having them 2 out at the same time is pretty massive. Because
Probably not. They probably won't.
no. But yeah, because they just had so much experience, so much knowledge, and so much skill to that back line. And also just their calming presence as well. Knowing that if Colin O'Sullivan makes a mistake, you've got 2 extremely talented players to back it up. Yeah, we've still got Zach Guthrie. We had Jed Hughes back this week. But Zach Guthrie can't do everything, even though he's absolutely trying his guts out to do everything possible to win games, and he's playing absolutely brilliantly. Jed Hughes was his first game back for a while, so you can't expect the best from him, even though I thought he played really well.
Yeah, I had no real issues with Hughes, to be honest. I think
No.
in a full strength back line, what he did, you'd be like, oh yeah, he just turned up and did what he needs to do.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't help you look at him because you're like, oh, he's another player that's probably not,
And you can say the same as Mitch Duncan.
Hmm.
Like, really high experience, but he's getting to the end of his career. He's not as quick as Jack Henry and Tom Stewart. So, yeah, having those 2 at the same time is huge. But, again, as we've said, to fight back after the Giants got that jump with those 2 players out and no ruck, like that is hugely impressive from the young players to be able to go, well, when we know what we need to do. Let's do it. Let's follow the experienced players, and they did. So yeah, it's exciting. I think as Sam said, the benefits hugely outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I think if you take the long view of these things, like it's all beneficial. It's beneficial to see what you have. Like it's about looking at the silver lining. You've got injuries, and so you are your hand is forced in terms of like Connor O'Sullivan. I think I had my benchmark set for him before the season when I was talking about players who might be in and out of the VFL. I think I talked about him if he could play half a dozen AFL games. That'd be a bonus, like, and for him to torch the VFL whenever he plays. Well, we haven't even seen him at VFL level yet. So that's great. But, as much as you discover players who are going to make it, the absence of starters and having to play those depth pieces also illuminates guys who are hanging on by their fingernails, in my opinion. to their chance. And there's some guys in last years of deals. And one of them is a player like who's my favorite. One of my favorite young guys is Ted Closey. Ted Closey, I don't think has a contract with the Cats beyond this year. It's really, really hard to hang on to your spot at the moment if you're a player like Ted Closey. I think Jai Clark gets a little bit more rope because he's a first-round pick. And so they're probably more likely to sort of, give him chance after chance. But I think those two guys, they're not playing in the team if everyone's healthy. I think, I thought O'Shane Mullen was fine. Just thought he was fine. I don't think I probably would like him. He's fine. He was fine.
Yeah.
But then you've just, there's a few players hanging around the lineup that you sort of go, okay, if everyone's healthy, there's probably 4 or 5 guys who aren't in and 4 or 5 guys who are absolutely in. We're finding a way, we can look at it and go, oh shit, we've got too many talls, or where would you fit this player or that player? We know that Scotty and the rest of the coaches and Geelong are far too clever to be bound by, oh, we have too many tall players. Oh, we've got too many players of this position. They would find a way. Tom Stewart would be playing on ball so that you can get all of your, your favorite tall defenders in, or Sam de Koning would be, have been persisted with in the ruck, whatever.
Yeah.
There's just, I think,
It's sort
as
of
I said, we're talking about a handful of players who are absolute locks in the side. They are currently not here. And so that means there are 5 players currently in the side who don't fall under that locks category. I thought Buse and O'Connor for me fit in the category of, I'm really glad they're on the list, so we're not having to play a Patrick Rechko or somebody ahead of time.
Yeah.
They're super experienced and just do their thing.
And they know.
Do we want to do votes and then Patreon chat more notes? Because we're almost at an hour. Let's just dive into some votes.
Can I bring up
more...
one other point?
Yeah, go.
Unless you want to chat. Just because we've basically only talked about the defense and we lost and Hogan kicked 7 goals. So it looks like we're shitting on the defense. And I wanted to bring this other point up just to make sure that we're evening it out, to say, okay, we have Jack Henry back in. Maybe Hogan doesn't kick all those goals. We have Tom Stewart. Maybe Sam doesn't have a sook because Tom Stewart jams his thumb up his butt. Because that's what he's there for. But so that helps. That helps. But I don't think the back line operated that poorly. Especially, I don't think the players performed that poorly in the back line. The back line operation broke down a few times, and that maybe doesn't happen with a slightly different makeup. That might help us win the game. But the other thing that definitely, going back the other way, would help us win the game is execution. Execution in front of a goal. Obviously, it's a massive one. Everyone talks about it. Everyone in the allowance talking about how good GWS were, and then they're also saying, but if Bleak Stars doesn't hit the post, then they win that game. So I understand that we all know this, but it's a little bit of just an oversimplification, I feel. In terms of when you look at, and I have to apologize, for some reason the website is not working on my computer. I'm operating with 3 devices instead of 3 tabs here to try and desperately have up the statistics that I wanted. So if you look at I'll abandon that one. So instead of disposal efficiency, I think this is the one I don't have here, but if you look at the disposal efficiency, it tells one story, but it's
Sam's
no.
paused.
I think we've lost Sam.
Pause for try to connect.
I think we've lost Sam.
I think we have.
Sam is trying to deliver a truth too hot for the AFL to allow it to happen. They've just hacked our stream and they're like, no, we're shutting this down. This is like the Kennedy files. They've just absolutely put a black marker through all these salient points Sambo was about to make. So, Johnny, let's go ahead with votes. And then we'll see if Sambo pops back in, because they've put his device into meltdown, so he can't speak his truth. Oh, good, he's coming back. I think we'll have to. It's just I don't know if you can hear us, Sam, but I think the AFL they've just deep sixed your hottest take of the night. I think it was too hot for public consumption, so they just melted down your device. So I think we're gonna put that take on Patreon. We'll get to that in Patreon. Let's crank through. Unless you think you can deliver it here.
No, it's fine.
Do you think are we back online, or do you want
it's
to
actually we've done that
Go
that
votes?
deliberately just to make it really saucy. So people are like, oh, what was he going to say? I better
Yeah. Join the Patreon, and you'll find it.
What was he gonna say?
7-day
He started talking
free
about
trial.
effective disposals. Oh, I can't ignore that saucy effective disposal talk.
Saucy disposal efficiency.
It's the ED you want.
Not
so
disposal
efficiency,
John, not effective disposals. This is the specifics we're getting into.
Oh, don't make me stand up
But,
anymore,
just
Sam.
to put a capper on that, like let's not just make people think we're shitting on the back line. Like at the end of the day, one more goal somewhere, and you win that game. Players who normally kick goals for fun from all sorts of places don't nail simple ones, and it's just how it happens sometimes. But all right, I'm going to whip through the votes real quick for mine, then we'll chop it up. Mark Blixarbs, 1 vote for me. Max Holmes, 2 votes. Bailey Smith, 3 votes. Johnny, what did you do?
I went 1 vote. Mark Blixarbs, 2 votes. Tom Atkins, 3 votes. Bailey Smith.
Wow, interesting.
No surprise to anyone because we spoiled it at the top of the show.
Yeah.
But mine is 1 for
Unless
Blixarbs,
Jake
2
cuts it
for Holmes,
Oh, Colin, sorry.
and 3 for Bailey.
All right, so yours and mine are exactly the same, Sambo. So Johnny, let's talk. Let's start. What we're going to do? We're going to talk Blixarbs, and I'm going to get Sambo to do that.
All
Okay. Sambo's going to talk Blixarbs. Johnny's going to talk Tom Atkins. I'm going to talk Bailey Smith, and then we can add comments as we like. But to lead us off,
no Max Holmes.
Oh yeah, we've got to talk Holmes too. Sambo. All right, let's alternate then. I'll talk. Sambo talks Blixarbs. Then John will talk Atkins.
Talk really quick.
Sam will talk Holmes.
No.
I'll talk.
Leave it as.
There you go.
Leave it
Just
as.
tell us.
I'll talk
Tell us
really
what you
quickly
want.
about Blixarbs and Holmes.
Well,
Because I don't have a lot to say.
Okay.
If I'm being honest. And then John can talk about Atkins, who got his 2 votes, and then you can talk about the man with 3.
Yes.
Blixarbs. I mean, if Blixarbs kicks that goal, he's instantly probably 3 votes. He's the match winner. This vote from Blixarbs was just one of those. Thank God you've got in the team. I feel like exactly what you said about him, Jake. But like, he's just literally, as people like to say, the Swiss Army man. Like, we're down a ruck. Oh, he goes in there. You know what I mean? Like, he still does so much around the ground too. Like, I thought he was pretty good last week, but I felt like he was even better. This week, this round, I felt like he was involved a lot more, obviously, in the ruck. But then he's, he didn't maybe absolutely dominate in the hitouts, but I feel like he was super involved in the next step, the ground ball gets and the kind of the botting it up for another ball up. I don't know. I don't think the stats can really just how much involved. Sometimes you got to dig really deep to see the impact of Mark Blixarbs. He's so good at reading the play and not even providing a shepherd, but just a bit of a block, just a bit of a, I'm here, so you're going to have to run further around me to get to Bailey Smith, who's running with it. Like, he's just an elite balling mind and an athlete on top of that. And then Holmesy for me was just, this is probably bit of a just like a tepid take because I haven't done my research to back it up, but it feels like his best games of the year for me. I felt like not only was he getting the ball a lot, and sometimes he was handling it, sometimes he was running with it at speed. He was probably one of the only ones on our side, other than Bailey Smith, obviously, to GWS the GWS players do that, run that shoot like you described it, John. Sort of do the arc around, not just straight, but sort of shake them and lose them just with sheer sort of leg speed. So that was really impressive, and also, you know, obviously kicking the way he kicks, but he also went at a reasonably high click with his efficiency. From what I remember, if I hadn't lost everything as I was in the middle of the tangent. So yeah, I think for me,
76.7.
Holmes, so 76.7. Was he highest on the ground, like on the team for meters gained, or second? I think he had
Second.
710, 701, was it? 701 meters gained, something like that. And
Oh no, he was the
he-
highest. Sorry.
he was the
710.
highest. Okay, cool.
He
Yeah,
was.
710. So yeah, I thought that was just, you know, again, to repeat myself, we always talk about doing these votes as the perfect version of that player's game, and I feel like it's pretty close to a perfect Holmes game. Just
Nice.
exactly what you expect him. Yeah, and I just thought he looked really damaging. I thought had we won the game, he would have been as close as anyone other than probably Bailey Smith to have been the one to win it for us.
Nice.
Atkins, Johnny. Why do you get into your
Atkins.
votes?
Because it's Atkins. Because Atkins
Glazing.
is still playing at the high standard that he's set himself. And he's still adding that pressure, still being that de facto leader in that midfield, and just throwing himself into contest after contest. Even when it's late in the game, you just see him chasing absolute guts out. And I think he's becoming one of those players where it's the Tom Stewart effect, I reckon. Where he's playing at such a high standard that we're getting used to it, and we're not seeing that as often as, like, you know, other players. When he plays those extraordinary games, we go, "Oh, that was an amazing game." But when he also plays a really poor, like a game that's a bit below his standard, we go, "Oh, it's not as good as Tom Atkins is." So I think I'm definitely feel like I'm getting to that point where I'm just seeing Tom Atkins go about his job, and he's doing the same thing he did last month for the next 4 games in a row, and he's going to do the same thing for the next 4. And I just
Team high
feel like he's
contested
there.
possessions too.
Yeah, he's just, you know, always there, always pressuring, always tackling, like 8 tackles again this week. But just his effort and ability to get into right positions to lay a bone-crunching tackle and get those clearances.
Game
And
high pressure acts. Sorry.
7 clearances. You're good, all good. No, second highest clearances for the Cats. Second highest clearances in the game. Like, he's just this absolute wrecking ball of a player, and I just don't want to. I just want to make sure I don't not recognise when he plays these really great games, because I think this was another great game by him, and I just don't want to get to that point where we go, "Oh, Tom Atkins isn't there anymore. We're missing him. We're missing that player." As you said about Mark Blixav's, Jake, in the Discord, you don't want to forget about Mark Blixav's because it's going to suck when he's gone. So we want to recognise what these players are doing now, rather than looking back and going, "Oh, we should have paid more notice to them." But also, he's just an absolute incredible player.
Yeah, no, I agree.
100%. Yeah, there's just moments. Mark Blixav's moments. There's one where he dashes out of that center clearance, kicks it long inside 50, the hair flowing under the hairband. It's just like, oh man, it's going to suck when he retires. All right, I'll round us out with Bailey Smith here.
New Smith
2022
machine.
flag year. Yeah, that's right. Bring that sound drop back, Colin. Cam Guthrie averaged 24.5 disposals in 2022. That was the year we won the flag. He led us with average disposals. 2023, our lead average disposal getter was Tom Stewart with 23. Last season, it was Max Holmes with 24. This season, Bailey Smith with 30.8 disposals per game. 19 of those uncontested. I have to say, I don't always, gravitate to the stuff off the field, the stuff that's, just adjacent to the field. But I can't deny that this is exactly the player we have asked to have in the side since we started the freaking podcast in 2021. But we just need someone who can average 30 touches a game and help, ease the load on, Dangerfield or Selwood or whoever. We just need someone, that player who, it's not just about, inside footy, and he's shown he can do a bit of that. It's just the work rate to get the handball receipt, to give a disposal off and be the next link in the chain. That a player who understands how to gather 30 touches a game and dish it out to to more damaging players, to open things up. And he's doing that. And this was just like, again, Sambo, you talk about it's you who has sort of coined this idea for us of like, when you give a player a vote, it's sometimes about, is that the best version of that player's game? Is that if that player plays their best, that's what their game looks like. That's what we'd want from them every week. And I don't think I can ask for more of Bailey Smith than 35 disposals, 8 marks, 10 tackles, 4 clearances, 2 goal assists, and 704 meters gained. He was exceptional.
71.4% efficiency.
Yeah, he was great, and I don't think this player acquisition could really be going any better. He tackles, he efforts defensively, like I think you said before, Sambo. He had the second most pressure act on the ground. Just to also add, he had the most defensive half pressure acts in the game. So it's not just a player who runs hard one way. It's not just a player who's affecting things up forward or in the front half. It's a player who is working hard in all areas of the game. So I couldn't look past him for 3 votes. Might even be the first time this year I've given him 3 votes. I'm a harsh critic, a harsh judge. But yeah, he was exceptional, Bailey Smith, and flew the flag brilliantly.
Yeah, I think that maybe we are harsh judge. I think there was another game where at least a few of the hoops gave him votes earlier in. I think round 1 maybe I gave him 3 votes actually. And statistically, his averages
I gave him 2.
kind of. Okay, there you go. Statistically, his averages are sort of sticking pretty clean, and it might sound like really finicky to say he's improved, but I feel like he has. Like, I do think we've been harsh judges of him, and there's been, like, I think we said it last week, there's been these things that we've asked of him a little bit where, like, you feel everyone else, like, other people give him 3 votes, and you're like, yeah, you got 30 disposals, but he operated at, like, 38% disposal efficiency. Like, we need that more, and I feel like consistently each game since we said that, he built up a little bit, and now he sort of stays at that high 60s to low 70s percentage, which is fantastic. And then it was kind of like, defensively, I'm not so sure. And now he's like rivaling Tom Atkins' tackle numbers. And then it's like, but I don't know how damaging his disposals are, how much they're helping us. 12 score involvements against GWS, like second on the ground, not just the team, second on the ground for score involvements. And then I feel like it was the last one for me was like the contested possession. It was this debate of like, is he a contested player? Is he not a contested player? I think he's not a majority contested player, but he can be. And I do think that that's true. Like his average of that, like it's maybe about a third of his disposals, a third or a little higher are contested now. And I think that too it's kind of like, all right, well, I think he's there. I think he's done everything we kind of moaned about. And now he's he's only going to fall out of votes if he does anything less than this, and also other players stand up, because you could do a couple of ticks less than this and still be vote worthy for sure.
Absolutely. There, he's doing everything that we asked for.
Everything's career high.
Yeah.
And it just makes me can't wait until we get full complement defensive unit back, and it's going to be crazy. It's going to be very exciting. Can't wait. I know I'm starting to get very excited about what Bailey Smith could do with this team.
He's going to win the
something
Brownlow,
really
according to a lot of
creepy.
people.
Yeah.
He's
Hashtag
24,
Baslow.
by the way, too.
Yeah.
He's he's in his sixth season of AFL footy, and he's only 24. He's going to smash past his best tackle, assuming he plays a full season, and obviously don't want to assume, but his previous best in a season was 93 tackles. He's already at 47. He laid those 93 tackles in 23 games. He's laid 47 in 8 games. He is already at 246 disposals. His previous season best was 613. That was in 2021 when they made the grand final, and he played 26 games. He's going to smash past his clearance record. His previous best was 77 in 2021. He's already at 38 through 8 games. So he's tackling more. He's winning more clearances. He's winning more contested footy. He's winning more of the footy in general. It's just got to that point. I think you've said it perfectly, Sambo. He has done the things we've asked. Even harsh, cold-hearted critics and skeptics like me, he has done the things that I bitched about, and so now I have to start putting him in the votes. All right, that's all from us on the public part of the show. You know what to do. If you want to come with us now behind the curtain, get your medicine. Come get your medicine, your extra girthizzle on the pod. Then sign up for a 7-day free trial. Come on.
Come on over.
Come on over. And we'll see you there.
We've got some barbs.
Till next time. Go Cats.